Let's fucking roll. All right, everybody, welcome back to the McBastard Studio. You're listening to the SaltyMF GOAT Podcast. Today, we are speaking with Chris Cathers. Chris was Army, Green Beret, and then other government agencies. But we're going to talk today about a lot of just life topics, what it was like in the military. And what I'm really excited about is Chris started Brothers Keepers Veteran Foundation to help prevent veteran suicide. And we want to make that topic really known and pronounced and really support their group because he's doing an awesome thing. So I've met him briefly, but he's just a freaking hell of a dude. Chris, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, man. Yeah. Appreciate it. Some awesome studio. Dig it.
Thank you. Yeah, I figured it's kind of got that. Anyone that's the McBastards, anyone named the McBastards, you got to know they're just normal people.
That's right.
So you and I met through a friend, I think Nick Carlson. So thank you, Nick, for introducing Chris and I. And he was telling me your story, and I was like, man, I would just love to just sit down and talk to him, because everybody gets, I think, enthralled. Everybody visions themselves as like James Bond or in the military or doing Secret Service stuff. And, some of that stuff I'm sure is a hell of a lot of fun, but there's some realities to living that kind of life long term, so.
Yeah, for sure. And, ironically, he hit me up this morning. I didn't answer his call, so apologize, bro. But, yeah, he texted me too. I was like, man, I've been running and gunning. But yeah, there's consequences to the career field, but the last thing that I ever want to do is like dissuade somebody from pursuing these types of jobs, or whether that's special operations or something that first responder, police, whatever, because there's a higher frequency in those career fields for trauma. You're exposed to a lot more traumatic events at a higher frequency. So what we're doing is kind of looking at everybody holistically, and it's like, man, look, a lot of those career fields, you got to be physically fit. You're taking care of your body, so you got to take care of your brain as well. So when these things present, you just got to jump on it, get after it, put the work in, and you'll be good to go. But a lot of people overlook the brain, and the impacts of those, whether that's a traumatic brain injury, or PTS or PTSI, as I like to call it. They definitely have residual impacts.
Yeah,
for some people.
Well, I mean, and you and I mean, I want you to talk about whatever you want to talk about, but when you were describing yourself, like you were really athletic as a kid and couldn't sit still, high IQ, really kind of stuff, but you were like, they didn't know what to do with you, like your ADD, and I was like, yeah, I get it, and I think the military, for people that have that kind of uncontrollable passion and drive and whatever, is a good spot sometimes.
Yeah, man, I needed an outlet. In sports, I'm a huge proponent for sports for children. Because ADD, I was kind of the OG of ADD at the time because I'm old. I'm old now. I act like mentally I'm still about 18, but at times.
Did you hear that, honey? I'm older than him, and he thinks he's 18.
Yeah, so. Yeah. It's like I don't think that's going to change for me, but it was a great outlet. I just needed a little bit of a kick in the butt, and I was getting in a lot of trouble, and academics wasn't my thing at the time, and because it was hard to sit still. I was just drawn to doing physical type activities. So sports was my original outlet, and then when I transitioned out of high school, I was like, well, what am I going to do next? Yeah. And I'm not ready for university or going to school. And so my dad just kind of laid out a couple different options. He's like, get out of the house, get a job. And I knew I was limited on what am I going to pump gas. Like, it's not really a good long-term goal for me. No offense to anybody who's pumping gas. But I was looking for he's like, or you can go to college, but I'm not paying for it because you're not performing. Or you can join the military like I did. So a week later, I signed up for 6 years. And when I came home, he's like, I was all proud of myself. I'm like, yeah, I showed you. Joined the military, and he goes, how long did you join for? I'm like, 6 years. He's like, you idiot. I meant test the waters, maybe do 2 or 3 year commitment to see how you like it.
Yeah.
But I went all in, and it really kind of helped focus and channel my energy. And I like the structure too. I think a lot of kids now need structure, to their lives.
Absolutely. And my dad was Army pilot, captain, all that good stuff. And when I came home after about my third college I'd gone to, he told me, he goes, I said, Dad, I think I'm going to go into the services. He goes, oh, hell no, you're not. I'm like, why not? He goes, you don't like authority, and you ain't going to listen to nobody, and you're going to be in trouble the whole time. He goes, you're not employable, son. You need to go figure out what you can do on your own and follow that path. It was the best advice ever, because most people say, yeah, go to the military. And he told me, hey, don't do it.
I think you would have done just fine, man, honestly. I was kind of similar, man. I was getting arrested. And I got arrested 3 or 4 times. My own dad arrested me in high school, which is a story that I tell to some people, he actually arrested me in high school. One of his deputies is the one that put cuffs on me. And he's just like made the front page of the paper. It was pretty crazy experience, because I now looking back, I was like, man, try to put myself and empathize with what I put my father through.
Yeah.
But anyway.
He still loved you.
Yeah, he did.
He loved you. He still loved you, man. So when you, as far as your experience in the military and things, you can share any story you want, but what's it kind of important to me is I know that you had PTS as well, right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of complex, man. Like veteran mental health is super complex.
Yeah, and
I had TBI as well as PTS, or PTSI. We call it PTSI is really to encourage people. Post-traumatic stress injury is a differentiator, because the misnomer that's been used for years, or the term or terminology has been post-traumatic stress disorder, and when you put that label on it, for a lot of, especially men, I think, not to differentiate too much between men and women, but it's kind of a negative connotation where it's a disorder of, guys don't want to come forward. But if you look at it as an injury, what I tell a lot of people coming to BKVF, I'm like, hey, bro, if you broke your leg, you'd go to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, you have a physical injury to your brain. If you have a traumatic brain injury, or there's a really good read called the operator syndrome that really explains about, even if you haven't pulled the trigger in combat, you're switched on for so long. Yeah. So your amygdala, your fear center, and your brain gets hardwired, because you're for a career of 20 years, if you're switched on all the time, when you come home, you can't, it's really hard or sometimes impossible for people to shut that off. Yeah. So you're hyper vigilant. You got tons of anxiety. It's just like fight or flight is hardwired. But
it's on all the time.
Yeah, and you got to deal with that, because it's not healthy to go 20 years. I kind of dealt with that myself. You're easily agitated, so if somebody's road raging on you, I actually tried to pull a woman out of her car once, because the things that what I like to tell people is the things that I read my buddy's book. He's a really well-known sniper. He's written 5 books on sniping. He's a SAS operator. And in the forward of it, they talk about it a little bit about the things that get you keep you alive in combat will get you killed as a civilian.
Yeah.
And the things that get you killed as a civilian, it's kind of like vice versa.
Reverse.
So, it doesn't some things in the military in a combat setting doesn't translate well to a civilian life. And that's why I think people have a tough time transitioning.
Back, yeah.
You end up working at Home Depot for some 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And, the terms and terminology and the environment is so different. And it's a real tough position for people to transition out of the military. That gets a lot of guys.
Yeah, and I would also think that we had some discussions on we had Bill Hale in here. He was a Navy guy, and we were talking about just the differences in business and the military, because he's a military guy and everything. And it's just it is different, because in the military your life is dependent on your team or your partners or whatever. Literally, you might go out and die, right? Business world, you might trip going to the coffee pot and see somebody, but it's we were talking about team building. How do you get that same feel that you had in the military, right, with all your buddies and versus business? And I told him, I said, to be honest, I don't think you can. I mean, I don't think you can. Even athletics, you need to learn how to work with a team and when to lead and not to lead, but it's physical. It's brutal. It's, business is not that way. And we were just kind of discussing How do you map the two? And
I
don't
think
know.
there's pros though, like especially in special operations, specifically, my experience as a Green Beret, everything is about your team. Like you don't have a large number of people, on an ODA, at best you'll have 12 members on your A team. And at times back when I was in, we had 7. So if something goes wrong, you're so dependent on the guy on the left and right of you. I've been fortunate, like, to be able to transition now, and it's taken me some time, but those experiences of building a team, we have a very diverse team at Brothers Keeper Veterans Foundation. I am very super open-minded now, which took me a long time to get to where I'm at, but like men, women, straight, transgender, gay, whatever, whatever, none of that matters to me. What matters to me is the cohesiveness of the team.
Yeah.
Long as people they work together well, it's all about, our mission is to help save veterans' lives through,
definitely.
assessing, connecting, and funding veterans treatment. And as long as everybody's kind of aligned there and we work hard, play hard, it's kind of similar, in the sense of like, we have we're not a huge organization at this point, but we move mountains with just the group that we have.
Right.
And so I'm super proud of that. And,
That's awesome.
I spend a lot of time with my teammates, and I don't look at anybody as like, from the janitor to the CEO, to me, everybody has value. And I try to express that from a leadership perspective, everybody's value, at least I hope that's how my team feels.
Yeah.
Probably watching this going.
Well, that's that. But see, I look at that as you having leadership skills and being a leader, and they have respect. Like, they will follow you. It's almost like, who are you? I think big companies be that way. If you've got a good leader, CEO, whoever they are, and you believe in what they're doing, you believe in that mission, you believe in that passion, I think you can move 30,000 employees. But if they don't,
you got to lead by example.
Yeah,
that's huge, because I won't ask anybody to do something that I'm not willing to do. There's times, even when I was running armored vehicle businesses, and our guys are, we're trying to perform on a vehicle contract and have to work through the night. I would always stay with my team. I'd go to Costco and try to get them like hopped up on energy drinks and like, Cliff Bars or whatever. And I was sweeping the floor, by them. But I was like, I can't turn wrenches on. I don't have the skills where I would. But when they see that, it's like, you got to be in the trenches with them.
Yeah.
I've worked for some people in corporate America that would never do that.
Oh yeah,
they would be like, well, I'll be at my house, and you guys just go ahead and knock this out. I expect you to be here for 30 hours.
Yeah, and send your TPS report in.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that TPS report, bro.
I'm gonna need you to come in on Sunday.
Okay.
How about fuck you? Okay. Well, tell me about some of the upcoming. I want to get into kind of the serious stuff where we talked about, Let's go here now. We'll talk. I've got some other things, but I want to, like, it's an epidemic, right? Suicide in the veteran community is an epidemic, and
100%.
And I mean, people are talking about it, but it's not front and center. So, you and I talked a little bit about it. I think I know. First of all, if you have brain trauma or just, an injury, you lose a leg, you lose an arm. I mean, that's psychological as well, because it changes your whole demeanor of how you feel about your body, all that good stuff. But what do you think, and why do you think now? I mean, we've had vets for, hundreds of years, thousands of years, people going to war. What is it now that you think it's because it's turned to an epidemic? Just, it can be your opinion, factual.
Well, I think there's a couple factors to why now. I mean, one, we were in combat for 20 years, which, man, I hate using the word unprecedented, because the last 10 years we hear that term all the time, right? But we were engaged in combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan and other places in the world for over 20 years. So one, you have a frequency issue where men and women were put into these combat settings for an extended period of time. And I like to use the analogy, especially when you go to the tier 1 elements, would be Delta, SEAL Team 6, right, or, the tier 2 community. These individuals, at some point, you got to put the race car back in the in the garage
and
do some maintenance.
Yeah.
and that wasn't occurring for 20 years. So that's part of it. Also, transitioning out of the military, when you're in that setting for so long, people get out of the military, and at that point, I think you're okay. But when they get out of the military, transitioning is really hard for folks, because when I got out, I went to the SF recruiters at the time, and this is no slam on, everything's changed since I got out, But I went to, my exit strategy was like, I was going up for my third reenlistment, and they said, "Hey, are you sure you want to get out?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure." And they said, "All right, have a good one." So then I get thrust into how do I build a resume?
Yeah.
How do I go find, what am I going to do next?
Right.
So I chose to go get educated and go to school, because that gave me some breathing room.
Yeah.
But some people don't have that opportunity.
Right.
I figured a way out. I ended up going back after to work for OGA, or the agency in Iraq and Afghanistan for many more years. So I was right back into that setting. I didn't have that much time before, I ended up getting my degree after I was done with all that.
But that was 9/11 that kicked you in to go back, right, at that time?
Yeah, because I was desperate to go. I just got out, and I called my team sergeant up. I said, "Hey, I want to get back in." It was literally the day of 9/11 when I knew what was up. And I was heading in for a biology test that day, and I saw the first, I was getting a haircut. And the first World Trade Center, I saw it live on TV. And then I got back in my car and was driving to school, because I was like, I kind of knew what was up. But the second one hit, I just turned around. And, I started like everybody, we're tied to this.
It was so
TV.
surreal, man. I thought it was like a Die Hard movie. I saw it 3 or 4 times when I walked by, and I literally, until someone called me, and I was like, shit, I thought that was a movie. I thought that, I didn't think that was real, and I had walked by it. So,
and I just knew, I was like, I'm built for, that's what my purpose was. Yeah. I feel like that's the third reason, tying back into, men and women, why it's been kind of an epidemic of kind of grave proportions. I think the lack of purpose is another reason. Yeah. So when you're in, you have a higher calling or a purpose. So, one of the things, starting this organization has given me, while facing terminal illness, has given me a huge sense of purpose, because I'm helping save and change lives. And I get paid through my reward or payment is not financial, because I don't really make any money from the organization. I reinvest everything back into the company. Right. I don't take a salary currently for the first 3 years. And the payment is through the men and women that come to me that are like, "Hey, bro, I got a new lease on life," or I was going to commit suicide, but I didn't because of the help that was afforded to us. And I was like, man, how does that, even if I save one life, what's that worth? I mean, for me, it's worth the world. So,
it's a legacy. I mean, it's a legacy, dude. I mean, people talk about, a lot of it's just horse shit, but what's your legacy? Well, I mean, real legacy is, what you can do to help other people. Because I heard somewhere, it was recently, I don't know who else said it, but I had taken a lot of noise. But it said you die twice, right? When you take your last breath, and then when the last person on earth utters your name.
And that's why I'm a huge, I've heard the opposite, right? Like a lot of us celebrate, it's not even a celebration, it's a remembrance. So I say, speak to the name of the dead, they live forever. Yeah. That we have an event coming up. When I finish up this podcast, I'll be driving out to Nashville, Tennessee. We've got it's called Just Ruck It.
Yeah.
Right? I got a trademark pending for that,
by the way.
So
I love it.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we wanted to test drive this new software. So people always ask us, how can I get involved in my hometown? Well, we invested in this software package that allows people to do 5K, 10K races, cool. Marine Corps marathon, or rucks like this. And they can lead these events in their town. We support it, of course, to make sure our brand and everything is maintained. But I just had a suicide last week. He was a tier 1 operator, and he was good friends with one of our board members. And when men and women commit suicide, man, it just rocks the friends, the family, the coworkers. There's such a wake of destruction. And this dude was like a legend. and just getting ready to retire. The top of the, he was this close, and people like this are people that I look up to. They're my heroes. It's like, we just had Nick Lavery speak for us. He's a Green Beret amputee. Went through dive school after.
He's awesome. Yeah,
got shot 5 or 6 times in his in the leg after being fragged and shot in the face. And he's just a warrior's warrior, man. And he came in and spoke at one of our events. And I was so impressed. Like, he's a great steward of the community, doing great things. And they're the people that I look up to, because they understand the consequences of war, which translates to, you get a glimpse at the human spirit. And that's what I'm all about. That's why I'm trying to inspire people with limitations and stuff, and resulting of my issues that I've got going on physically. Because I've always been an athlete my whole life, training with world champions and when I was younger, UFC fighters and things like that. And I just did it for sport, for fun. Right. But I was really high level back then, conditioning and things like that. And I look at these guys, these men and women that are from our community, and they're the ones that I kind of look up to. It's not the celebrities, and I don't nerd out on,
I'm not.
It's like,
I don't have a clue. Most people walking.
You see the human spirit, and I'm trying to show mine through overcoming adversity in different ways, whether that's the mental health, like being suicidal for 12 years and not pulling the trigger when I really, really wanted to, and having a gun in my mouth over 100 times a year, drinking and all the things, and then facing at the same time getting diagnosed with terminal illness with stage 4, cancer. Still getting at, trying to stay in the gym as much as I can, and what I try to do is tell people to focus on the things you can do, because it's easy to go down the depression route and be like, well, now I can't run anymore. I can't squat. I can't, it's a struggle to put my freaking socks on. So when I see a guy like, these other amputees that are we're supporting, or they're supporting us, I have a super fond appreciation. They spend, I forget what it was, 60% more energy in a day than a normal able-bodied guy.
I bet. Even balance core, trying to, adjust for whatever's wrong with you. It's got to be,
you got to be efficient. Everything you got to do, you think, if I have to go back upstairs and I forgot something, you're expending more energy than an able-bodied person. And, but anyway, it all comes down to the human spirit, man. I'm fascinated by, you normally don't see it in a day-to-day. If you're in you're working for Google or something, and you're just typing all day, you're doing your work, but you don't see what's underneath, the human spirit. You don't get a glimpse into that unless you're in these dire circumstances where it's life or death. And that's the cohesion of some of these combat veterans is everyone talks oh, I would do this to that guy. You're like, maybe, but have you seen it?
Yeah.
And when you do, the true, you don't have to talk shit.
The meaning
kind of this dude's for real. If he says he's going to kill somebody, he means he's going to literally kill that guy.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a different glimpse into humanity and what's underneath the hood. You know what I mean?
Well, even if I don't know if you're a hunter or you've ever hunted or you like to hunt or whatever, but not talking about war, but just for fun or food or whatever. I mean, the first time I ever shot an animal, it's all great, you're gonna hunt, but the first time you shoot it and then you go up and you see the damage that a bullet did, or then you got to clean it or gut it or whatever. It makes you think sex time. Well, do I even want to shoot this thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's the what people think in the movies and movie stars and all the bullshit that they put it. I mean, war and fighting great. You got a cause you got to do to protect whatever you're doing, but at the end of the day, somebody died. Our guy, their girl, our girl, whatever. Somebody died, and it was real. They're dead. They're gone. Their life's out. So I think people, they try to Hollywood it a lot and don't realize what the impact may be later in life, losing that limb or being sick or whatever it may be. I don't know. It's some of that you got to do for recruiting. You got to get people pumped up.
I don't hunt myself. I'm really interested in doing an elk hunt at some point. And what I like of the principles of hunting is, the connection with
Yeah.
there's a connection between you and the animal that you're harvesting. It's like we've lost such touch with food.
Absolutely.
So when I go into the grocery store and I look at the chicken breasts, and if you ever see the picture from the 50s, 70s, and like today,
Yeah.
the size,
Schmeat.
man, and you get these. You go to Costco, and they're like, it looks like a turkey.
Yeah.
And
Steroids.
it's hormones and all the crap we're putting in our food. And it's also a more humane way for the animal, if you hunt properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dying in nature is brutal, man. So a lot of people that don't advocate hunting, it's really a lot of conservation that goes back for the environment, because those people love the environment.
Yeah.
So there's an education that needs to happen, but I would love to do an elk hunt at some point, and because I could feed our family for a year.
Oh, absolutely.
Easy. I probably
Elk chili is the best thing I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Best thing in my life. So on the things that you guys are doing around Brothers Keeper, you do several events. So obviously you're doing the ruck. You guys have the ruck going on, and then you do like a shooting, right? And then you also have a golf tournament as well. So can you talk a little about those different events and what
man.
The rucking's pretty obvious. You'll like my post before this. I hope you don't. I said a bad word on it. I hope you don't mind. But I said let's. He said he said,
man.
"Hey, let's ruck and row, motherfuckers."
Yeah, no, man. So from a business perspective, we're a little bit. I want to build a company that's fun, funky. When people come to our events, what I'm about is messaging and connecting with our audience. I want to grow a movement with this company, and I also want the company to throw events that are fun. We just hired and I'll get into the events. So bring me back on.
Oh yeah, no worries. It's your show, bro. You talk about whatever you want.
I lose train of thought like halfway through a sentence half the time. But
I do the same.
Yeah, we do fundraisers is one way we drive revenue, right? And what I don't like about nonprofit work is we're donor dollar dependent. So we're relying on other people's money, for donations. And I wanted to diversify the company in ways to weather the storm politically. Like whatever happens in the elections or the economy, I want to try to make sure that we can weather the storm, right? So if the economy tightens up, fundraising gets a little more challenging. So we're working on, grants and then passive income streams, Giving Tuesday on Facebook. We're doing the rucks, for instance, or events that people can do in their hometown, which is called, for me, passive income streams.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we anchor the year with about 5 or 6 events, and what I want to do is really show movement for the company and message at these events. So we do we do our gala. We have one this year in September 14th in Nashville, Tennessee, at the City Winery.
Oh wow,
it's a great venue, man. I don't know if you've been there. There's one in Atlanta as well, but it's a really good venue. We have live music, silent auction, live auction, keynote and guest speakers. People like a Nick, for instance, that are really cool, and it's a black tie event. I'm also incorporating. We do a golf fundraiser. We have one coming up on June 10th at Traditions Golf Course here in Jefferson, Georgia. So that's a local one here in Georgia. We got the Ruck one coming up this weekend, and then we're doing a shooting event on May 25th in Clarksville, Tennessee.
May 25th.
Yeah, and it's $600 to participate, but that includes ammo, lunch, beverages after we're done. It's on private property. We have about 20 to 25 active and retired Green Berets and Tier 1 operators that come out to make sure it's managed safely. But we brought 2 miniguns last year.
I was going to say,
5.56, 7.62. We had 3 squad automatic weapons, belt feds, and we let all the participants go through, and we give them a couple belts, and it's just fun. It's things that even people that that like to shoot can't do every day, because these weapons aren't even in the military. Some of these are right off the shelf, getting put in the service with the military. So anyway, we'll possibly have some celebrities there, but it's limited to 30 people, for this event, just because we want to keep it safe and, managed. But we're looking for donors and supporters and participants, and that's a fun one. But we just hired and brought on board a good friend of mine, Dave, who's running our online merch. He's a double amputee. really great guy, man, really accomplished guy. And he brought up an idea of like getting other amputees, this will give you an idea of where I'm going with fundraisers. He's like, hey man, how about we do golf carts with disabled veterans that are amputees so they can be competitive and get after it. Get the fuck after it on a racetrack. And I was like, hell
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That's the kind of stuff. One, it brings, like, if you go on social media and look at a normal nonprofit, nobody tunes in because it's like, it's a serious subject matter, but it's not as interesting. So I'm looking to, if we do something like that, I'll be reaching out to Travis Pastrana, Nitrous Circus, guys like that bring, they're kind of in the field. We don't build our events around celebrities, but the support is super necessary because it shows, it brings eyeballs and attention to a good cause. And
so on that Pro League Network, Bill, Mike, I'm going to get you guys hooked up. Anyways, they Professional Pro League Network, they're doing a bunch of stuff around sports and events.
I want skydivers, man. Like somebody wants to jump out of a hot air balloon at 100,000 feet with a BKVF flag. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things I want to incorporate. Of course, we're not going to do every event like that. We're always going to do our galas and golf fundraisers and shooting event. But I want to incorporate these things in just to make it really interesting and a rad, concept.
Yeah, I mean, it brings awareness. I mean, unfortunately, it's even like before, like everything has to have some, it's just the way it is. Everything has to have some kind of entertainment component to it, good or bad, whether you like it or I don't like it. Like it's just part of it. Like people, I don't know, our attention span's really, really low, I think, and people are always asking for mine is
TikTok, baby. Look, it went from like Facebook where people were typing their anger for like an hour, and then it went to Instagram, and then TikTok is like 8 seconds of like somebody jumping up and down on a trampoline.
No, we from a human attention span, I think the goldfish has 8 seconds. We're lower than the goldfish, man.
Right now, somebody just dropped off the podcast. So for the guys, we're gonna blow something up in a minute here.
Hold on here. Hold on. Yeah, I don't give a shit about that. Like, people, you got to be real. I think the greatest things in life I've seen people really successful is when they're authentic. They have actually some credibility. I mean, you can talk about this all day long because you've lived it, right? Yeah. And even someone that hasn't, you can empathize, you can understand it, you can want to get involved. But like the thing I like about you is you've taken something that's really happened to you, and the audience I know, I mean, the shit Chris has been through, the fact he walked in the door, I'm like, dude, you fucking look amazing. You're in better shape, man. You fucking great, dude.
Fake it till you make it, man. It's like I'll walk out of here and wheel my way out,
But I mean, people don't realize, I mean, just your thing on that grit to want to live, to want to have purpose. You and I were talking about I got to share the story because I worked for this guy 30 years ago, and he was dying of something, and he was all hooked up and whatever, and doctor came in and said he couldn't do anything for him, and he just stood up, pulled all his wires out, and said, "You're fucking fired," and walked out. That guy, Charles, I won't say your last name, kudos, dude. Guy's alive 32, 33 years later because he didn't want to give up. So
that's the aspect I'm trying to connect with people, man. Like, when it comes to authenticness, like for me, I don't ever want to compromise any of that, but I also don't want to be off-putting in the sense of like, there's so much division in the country right now.
Yeah,
I'm like, look, I wanted to build an organization that's doing great stuff. I don't talk about politics on my social media. I just put good out there, man, and of course the rad stuff where we're like shooting guns and getting on the racetrack and stuff like that. I want to bring eyeballs that way. But like, if nothing else, man, we can rally behind some men and women, and if I could do more, man, and open it up to first responders, that might be the next evolution, right? I would love to help everyday people. The messaging is like, no matter who's watching this or, everybody understands trauma. At some point in your life, you're going to lose a loved one, right? Yep. But like, I want people to rally behind something we can all agree on. It's like, I want to help individuals, men, women, gay, straight, black, white, doesn't matter to me, man, for real. And, I'm a, former Green Beret and stuff like that. And our board is comprised of 4 Green Berets and a Tier 1 operator and, Army veteran as well. And we are not a Special Operations centric business. Yeah. I don't want to come across like that. I don't care if somebody was in the military 2 years, had no deployments, or somebody had 30 deployments, because, you know, people judge other people on like, well, bro, you did this. And what happens is
they measure themselves.
And I tell people, I'm like, I heard a really cool quote on Joe Rogan that he threw out that I latched onto, and I throw it out at all our events. And I tell people, comparison's a thief of joy. Yeah. So like, I've had veterans come to me, but hey, bro, you did all this, like you've blown up and whatever, you know, or gone through these situations, and I didn't. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, bro. Like, you need help, and I want to help you. Like, don't compare yourself. Like, half my friends have done more rad stuff than me. 100%, man. Like, I'm not like the cool, you know.
There's always
there's levels to the game, man.
There's always one.
Like, I'm not claiming to be some like, you know, I've got a bunch of deployments, and I've been to some, you know, really crazy environments and situations, but you know, most of my friends that I'm surrounding myself with have done more rad stuff. And if I looked at it that way, and actually one of your buddies just said, you know, asked if I knew Tom Spooner. Yeah. And he runs Warrior's Heart with Lisa and Josh Landon out in Bandera, Texas. They have an awesome facility. They're great people. And he's one of the people that helped me understand when I was going through my stuff. I went out there and spoke to them for about 12 hours to understand what they're about as an organization.
Right.
And I quickly found out they're doing great things for veterans. And Tom is like a legend, you know, like he had amazing military career. And he openly talks about some, you know, having traumatic brain injury and things like that. And that kind of, when a guy like that, to me, that I look up to, is saying, hey, bro, like, you know, I've had these issues, that encouraged me to get help. And so anyway, I'm trying to make sure that, you know, people know that, you know, look, it doesn't matter what your background was, man.
Suicide.
Yeah, man. I don't want to lose any more veterans, dude, men, women. There's a lot of sexual trauma, and there's layers to abuse too. A lot of people have childhood situations of abuse in a lot of different ways, sexual and other. And then they join the military and they're exposed to other trauma. And
that brings
it builds up because you have unresolved issues.
Yeah.
So that's another whole issue. But so I tell people, man, when you got trauma that comes up, just deal with it, man. Go, you know, look for a resource, deal with it as it comes, and you're less likely to have it build up to a point where you end up taking your own life or, you know, abusing substances, you know, and all that stuff.
Yeah, we should look you up we had an organization, Vision Warriors, on. They're kind of more local, more like men's. It wasn't particularly military or non-military, but you know, men that were alcoholics and stuff, and they help them get out, and they have a facility where they kind of get back on their feet. They get a job and all this stuff, and so we've had, and you know, they're doing some good things. And like, there's so many things. I think if people open their mind and reach out, it's kind of what our goal was with Salty, was to like partner with all kinds of people, like-minded people that like, you know, and help out, right? I mean, the more people you got around you and kind of, I mean, we're in all kinds of crazy shit. We just had the Georgia hemp guys on. Good job, guys. CBD guys. All kinds of crazy people. But I think if you build that community, and we're going to be behind you guys and help the whole way, man, whatever we can do,
awesome.
We'd love to help.
Appreciate it.
Because I mean, it's real. And we're all going to die. You and I talked about that. We're all going.
That's the irony, right?
Yeah, we're all going.
Well, the irony with me was like, you know, I had some bouts of really high, like SI or suicidal ideation, like up to about a year and a half ago. It was 12 years in a row, like off and on. Mostly, you know, I was still working, people were outwardly looking at me like I was really, had everything going, you know, like, financially or professionally. But internally, I would go home and drink my face off. I loved alcohol. Just to sleep, you know, I was using it medicinally in my head. Like, I was like, I can't sleep without it, man. I got all these like demons. And it was the only time I could get, I started working out. That's how I was trying to battle it originally. Yeah. And then I got down to 170 pounds. Like, and I was doing 3-a-day workouts with like, you know, getting on the Aerodyne bike and redlining myself. And that was the only time voices, you know, not literally, but the nonsense in my head, it would get calm a little bit. But then my tolerance rose, my conditioning got better and better, and I couldn't, like my recovery was so quick. So that didn't work. Then I went to alcohol, pills, whatever. And then my tolerance with drinking, half a fifth, 3/4 of a fifth, sometimes a fifth. And I'm like, dude, this is not good. No. But nobody knew because outwardly I was still fit. Like I never showed I wasn't drinking beer because it wasn't efficient.
Yeah.
I'd have to drink like 17 to 20 beers, to get the same effect where I could hit hard alcohol. But my vanity kept my sanity. I'm going to make a T-shirt and trademark that. But,
I like that.
Most guys that go to the gym, they have like body dysmorphia. They want to look good, whatever. Yeah. And that did keep me sane for a bit because, I was like, man, I don't want to be like 300, 400 pound guy just eating Cheetos and drinking.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm a gym guy. I like going to gym stuff. And I mean, I tell you, it's so good for your mental health, though.
Yeah, man.
Even if you're not in there, throwing up 120 pound dumbbells, you're just in there where it's so like your mind gets clearer, your adrenaline goes up, you get that kind of runner's high. And I tell people, just go. You don't who gives a shit what everyone else looks like? That's not the point. Just go do it.
It's a comparison thing though, man.
Yeah.
Like you got to be comfortable in your own skin, and it's tough, man. It's tough for people it's easy to say that, but with the work, just getting in the gym, being consistent, you'll get results.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're not going to look like Ronnie Coleman, probably. He's a freak.
No, everybody wants to do tests and all that. But I'll never forget this because I was always a big kid, athlete, all that stuff. And my dad was a pretty tough son of a bitch. I mean, he came out of coal mines and all that stuff, obviously Army and all that, football player, all that good stuff. And I don't know, we were talking shit, I'll take that guy or whatever. And he just said, let me tell you something. When the toughest guy walks into the room, everybody knows. You don't have to do anything. You didn't have to. When the toughest dude walks into the room, just remember this, everybody already knows. So all the other people boasting around, pecking around like chickens, no. Yeah. So I always thought that was funny. I got his point. What he meant.
Some of those quiet guys you got to watch out.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
Confident,
They're confident. Well, how can people get involved? Because we definitely Brothers Keepers Veteran Foundation. We're in. We want to help these guys. It's a good cause. I personally have known a couple non-veterans over the last month that went via suicide, and it's horrific. It's absolutely terrible. It's terrible for the family, and it's a shame because you do have something to offer. No matter where you're at in your life or how low you think you are, you have something to offer, and you have other people around you that maybe can help you get through that to realize what you can do. And I think Chris is a perfect example of living a very exciting, what I would call life, and having things happen to him and still be able to focus his vision of what he could do to help other people. And I think that's fucking amazing. So how can we, Salty Nation, what can people do to get involved other than the rucks and things like that? What can they do? Well,
first of all, my life has not been boring. Let's just say that. I like a layer, like an onion. Right? But, yeah, for those watching or tuning in to the podcast, there's a couple ways you can support. Obviously, our success is predicated on, we have financial goals and needs, to support the veterans, because what we do is assess, right. Then we connect them with resource and fund it, right. And for as long as needed. Some of these processes can take more than a year, 2 years. Right. There's not a one-size-fits-all to veterans' mental health, but they can go to bkvf.org. Yeah. We post all our events on there. We have 3 upcoming events. Right. We post those months in advance. So if somebody sees something, in their hometown, you can come out, get involved. You can volunteer. And we have a donate tab on our website. Of course, financially, that would always be awesome. Or you can come to our fundraisers and, like I said, volunteer. If you're a veteran in need, you can just email help@bkvf.org. Yep. And that's a way that starts the intake process for us. All they got to be is strong enough to freaking type an email, man, and we'll take it from there. But we can't force people, into help. Yeah. So I just need people to be strong enough to reach out, and then we got you, man. We'll start the process. You just got to admit that, the same kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Admit that, you need help. First the
step.
Other thing, that would help, I'm not a big social media guy. I've been working on it.
OGA, those OGAs don't like that.
No, I mean, for me, social media, I'm trying to weaponize it for good. Like I said, I stay out of politics. Man, it's really tough, especially where I'm at right now in life. I want to be super vocal on some things like with politics and all that, but it doesn't have a place. I don't want to dissuade people from tuning in. But yeah, man, it's like Chris_Cathers at there's my Instagram stripper name. So they can look me up and, give me a follow there too. Because, I post almost a lot of things that we're doing for the company. I post everything there too. And so we're looking for support on both of those fronts. And that's always a big help. But our focus, single focus right now is on the veteran community to kind of curb the epidemic of veteran suicide through our advocacy. And by doing podcasts like this, you're doing a huge service, because what I want to do is destigmatize veterans' mental health. That's my goal. That's part of the reason I'm going to do a documentary. I'm sitting down for the documentary we're working on in Nashville on Saturday after the Ruck. And what I'm doing with that is like, man, I don't want to be the poster child of veteran mental health to some degree, right? It's like, your claim to fame is being jacked up.
Yeah.
But, I'll do whatever it takes, man, because I have been through these experiences, and I'm strong enough now to speak about them publicly. And I want everybody to know that, you're not weak for getting help and not committing suicide, dude. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I grew up that way. Yep. Men don't speak about, their feelings and stuff like that.
Over 50, we all did.
But dude, like, whether you're men, women, dude, like, what I'm trying to advocate for is you're not weak for reaching out, for help. You're actually doing one of the hardest things. One of the hardest things I've ever done was battle myself and my demons. Like, absolutely harder than Special Forces selection. It was harder than being in combat, harder than MMA workouts. Doesn't even compare, man.
Absolutely.
The anguish. So I want to take that pain away from people the best we can. And, so yeah, any support that folks can give us is great, man, because I want to be a good steward of people's hard-earned money too. I'm really like, that's a huge responsibility for me is, when some of these people give all they've got, and a donor, I've got some people that donate like $10, right? It's all they can give. Yeah. And to me, I look at them the same way that a donor that gives $10,000 to us or $100,000. I honestly, I treat them all the same. Yeah. Because you don't know what someone's financial position is, you know? It's not.
I think people want to help. I think there's a lot of, because a lot of things, not necessarily in the nonprofit, but just in business in general, like people donate. If they don't really understand or see, that's why I think it's really important. Like when you come out of this, or like yourself, and you're very admitting what happened, what you went through. I mean, you're telling people the story. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people out there that have it. I think when people hear the authenticity of it and they can like really put a face to it, it's hard because like I don't like social media either. I fucking hated it. And when we started doing this shit, everyone now thinks, my wife, you're kind of a narcissist. No, I'm the one. You got to do it. Somebody has to do it. Whether you want to do it, you're called to do it, whatever, somebody has to do it. And I think the more stories you guys can get out there of people coming back and living and going on to do things, good things, I mean, that's what the fuck we're here for, man.
Yeah.
Because we're going. Just don't go yet. Wait. Don't go yet. Go when the time is right and when it's, your time to be called. Don't end that life because, man, there's a lot of great shit that can happen after something really bad happens. Well, usually the good things happen after that.
That was the irony, dude. Like in 2019, I was still doing executive protection for some celebrities and stuff. I wanted to get back. I was like, dude, I'm still fit. I was 230 pounds, doing jujitsu. I started back in, training, some of those modalities, strength training, was taking care of myself, eating well. And then I get back from an overseas trip, and I had this pain in my hip for about six months. It was off and on. I was like, it's probably a sports injury from jiu-jitsu.
And you're stubborn, and
And the irony was I was still battling some things, like at that time. I was still dealing a lot with some of the mental health issues and at times highly suicidal, right? And then all of a sudden I get a diagnosis of hey, you got a 26% chance to live the next 5 years. And I was like, And you probably have questions like, yeah, am I going to like die? That's my first question. When I called the doctor, that's when I first got my original diagnosis.
Don't listen to him.
And then they shifted to stage 4, where I had an 8% survival rate for 10 years. And I'm trying to do the math, adding these, because I'm not a math guy, clearly. So I'm like, man, that's pretty low. I'm probably like down in the like low single, under this digits. And for, so I'm coming up on that 5-year mark soon. And I shouldn't even be here right now. So I was talking to my wife last night. I said, man, I'm so grateful. I have so much gratitude. And that's a thing, a quality people really need to wake up every morning and just be grateful for something, your friends, your family, whatever's going good in your life. And I was like, man, I'm so grateful, like the company and the team that we're developing at BKVF and the help, that the services we're committing I'm so grateful to still be here, And I said, man, I just want to see it like a little bit more. I'm a little bit, what's the word? I feel like I'm overextending a little bit, I was like, man, I just want to see it go to the next level, man. Yeah. Like, I kind of want to develop the BRCC or Black Rifle Coffee model, make the company kind of like go to the next level, but also be really cool and interesting. Yeah. And, our marketing goal for this year for our marketing team, I was like, when we had our business strategy meeting up in South Carolina earlier in the year, I told my marketing team and our core team, everybody that flew in, I said, by the end of the year, I want to do who the fuck are those guys? That's our marketing strategy. And they're like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, it means exactly what I said. By the end of the year, I want people, like, we're not going to be a household name, but I want people to go, who the fuck are these guys? Because they're all over the fucking place and they're doing rad shit while helping people.
Yeah, I love it.
And then, 2025 to 2026, that's going to be the years where I want to be a household brand and be a behemoth and it's not about, competitive with other companies. It's simply just my own internal goals. The bigger I grow the machine, long as we don't compromise our quality to the veteran community, like our messaging for podcasts this year, I want to be very careful and not. What I need is really donor support and people backing us. Yep. Next year, I want to go on like, a Joe Rogan, the bigger, behemoth,
Absolutely.
Podcast.
We had him here first, Joe.
Yeah, that's right. No disrespect.
Yeah, no disrespect.
But I want to go, if you're a veteran in need, come to us. Because this, we're still growing. So, you got to have all your metrics in hand. And make no mistake, if we compromise the quality of the veteran community, they'll eat us alive.
Yeah.
And also, it's not about how big we are; it's about the quality of our services.
Absolutely.
So it's a balance.
It's a balance, but it does matter because the more momentum, the bigger the wave, right? The more impact you have, and that's okay for people to have goals and aspirations to kick that other guy in the ass in a friendly thing, knock him on his ass, pick him up, hey, good job, buddy. That's okay. That's all right in life. I think good-hearted competition in business and life, you need it. You need that older brother, kicking your ass, but like we said this on the last podcast, hey, I can kick my brother's ass, but you can't, that kind of mentality. And it needs it. Cause I think the world is, we have this vision of the world that everything is so perfect and whatever because we want everybody to
manufactured.
Think
there. You go on social media, man. It's like take 50 of your social media, and that's why I can't get behind. It's really difficult for me because a lot of these things are manufactured and stuff, and I don't roll like that, man. I just want to be authentic in the sense of like, this is real me, real us.
It is.
Real
Fuck
situations.
it. I cuss. I'm a good guy. I'll go to church every now and then. I'm a good guy, but fuck it. I like to say the bad word. The reality of it is like that's real. That's a real conversation. If we were to sit in a room and you and I cutting up, I feel like this is that conversation. But the highlight is you guys, right? Brother's keeper. That's the message of this podcast.
I want to show some
how funny I can fucking be, And
it's super difficult because I'll give you a good dude. You want to talk stories? I got tons of them, right? I got freaking crazy stories. But with social media, I want to put some of these things out there, but I don't also want to take away from the professionalism of the organization. So it's for me, it's with woke culture and all this nonsense going on. It's terrifying to do podcasts because my second surgery, they took my femur out, like 3/4 of my femur, right? They cut me from here to here. Jeez. And, my surgeon, I shook his hand and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, that's your moneymaker. His name's, he was a really good dude. And he goes, man, with what I'm about to do to you, this is called a brutal and radical surgery. And I was like, you got my attention.
Yeah. Oh,
sounds
shit.
awesome. Yeah. And I was like, he goes, I don't use like, this isn't a precision event. I'm using hammers and like, basically tools from Home Depot. So I'm on the operating table, man. My little brother, this is my second. I had a bone graft like a couple weeks prior to this on the same spot. And so I'm on the table. I wasn't even medicated at this point. And I had done some research because I really wanted to like do something cool, unique, and freak my buddies out, right? Yeah. So I'm like, hey, man, I want to keep my femur. And I want to cut it up, like the little pieces of my femur. I was like, I don't want it back like with meat on it. Like you clean it up a little bit. I'll take it to a taxidermist. He'll probably have questions. But what I want to do is I want to carve this thing up and make custom knife handles for all my buddies because it's the gift that keeps on giving, like the Jelly of the Month Club. That's like a one-upsmanship. You know what I'm saying?
It's just a $6 idea, but it's fucking beautiful.
My poor wife was looking at me. She's on one side. My little brother, Chaz, was on the other side. And I did due diligence like the night before in the hospital bed. I was like, dude, this other guy did it. Like, this is precedence, bro. And he's like, you want to what now? And he goes, well, we got to get proper margins. And he did his nerdy doctor stuff. And I'm like, so you're saying I can't keep, it's my femur, bro. Yeah. You're just going to throw it in the trash.
Oh, my God.
See what I'm saying? Like,
I love it.
But if I go on social media, I guess I'm doing it right now, right? Yeah. But I don't want to take away from people are going to be like, this guy's nuts.
Most people listen to this shit are
and that's pretty like tame for some of my stories. You know what I'm saying? But how do I get that onto because people's attention spans, like if you have if I try to tell that, I've got 1,000 of these things, craziness that I went through. But I'm like, how do I put that in a 10-second clip?
You should do that though. You should do that. We can think about. We should do that and have it's like moments with Chris, right?
We can sell
you
it
just
on
say that shit. Yeah,
SaltyMF, man. You can have pieces of me.
I can say whatever. I'll sell that shit on my website. Hey, that's coming next month. We're gonna have Chris's.
And my buddy Ron, he's got my back. I get tats from here to there, and so we joked about making lampshades and things like that. So part of my will is, we joked about it, and it's getting a little weird as time goes on because we're older now. So it's getting a little creepy. But I was like, yeah, bro, I'll give you my skin so you can hang it like wall art on your wall.
Hey, we can put a piece here. It'll be nice. Look at this. This nice. What is that? Velvet?
Yeah. So if you're a lawyer out there and you can figure a way to legally do this, where I can cut, get some skin to make wall art.
Oh, I got them.
I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there that can help me get this legally passed through because my femur was a problem.
We got Sid. Sid, we're gonna give you a call after this.
Just get a little. We can make little Post-it cards. I don't know. I got a bunch of ideas. But.
You know what? That's why that's why the fact of just the humor. I mean, the fact, like, I call out to a couple of people right now. One of my buddies, Scott, going through some things. My mother-in-law went through 4-stage. They didn't predict she would make it, and that was over 25 years ago. So Brenda Bennett, way to want to live. Good job to you. I have so many stories like that where, like I said, like it was over. It was over, right? Yeah. It was over, and they wanted to live, So
well, you got to like. I'm all about grit and resiliency. I tell people growth happens in the darkness, man. When you're going through adversity, that's when the real you and the spirit that I talked about really shows and shines, right? So I'm kind of fortunate. Like people ask me, man, would you change anything? Like, because I wouldn't be running BKVF. And I said, I wouldn't, man. Yeah. 100%. I'll take stage 4 cancer. Because it's led me to something that I'm super passionate about. It's super rewarding, man. Like it's the coolest and most rad thing I've done, and compared to, I'm not focused on money. It's just like putting some good out in the world, man, that hopefully lives beyond me. But, the dark sense of humor, you got to have it.
You got to have it.
Like for me, it's just people kind of, like I told you, I think we talked on the phone about it, like I tell people, I go to my oncologist, people are like, what are you in for? I'm like, what are you in for? And then I got one up by this one lady, and I'm trying not to be, everybody handles and processes things differently. So I got to be careful because my wife got on me one time because I got a T-shirt made and it said "Keep Stage 4 sexy." I told you about the tank top. Yeah. So I ended up going to the gym and it had like the cancer ribbon, which is gold for bone cancer or whatever. So shout out all you bone cancer folks. But I go in the gym, and the first person that saw me was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, bro." And I'm like, "Damn it, you guys are ruining my vibe."
It's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be sympathy. It's supposed to be.
I don't worry.
It's a warrior spirit.
It is what it is, bro.
It's a warrior spirit, man, and everybody should have a warrior spirit. Everybody should have a warrior spirit, man.
I mean, you don't have to be weird like I am.
Well, you don't have to talk about making skin ball stuff, but hey, we're doing it. I mean, it's happening here, so we're gonna fucking do it.
Let's make it happen.
We're making that happen. But my kids always, it's a joke. So my parents had dementia and Lewy bodies, and it was horrible. It was a long death, like over time. It's terrible to watch someone do that. And I always told my kids from the time I was young, when they were younger, I'm like, look, we're going skydiving. When it's time, you'll know it's time, and I'm not going to have a chute on. And I'm going to sell Eat It Joe.
We're going down the tunnel.
Eat It Joe's advertising. Get 1 billion views. You guys will be set for life. I'll be happy. It's all good.
You just took you made my femur thing weird, man. You know what I mean? That's like next level. Like, people are probably like, that femur thing wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
skydiving,
we would get along.
You don't take your kids with you, right? Like,
we would have been brothers. I can tell you what. I'm a bastard, so hell, who knows? I could be related to you. Shit, who knows? But man, I really appreciate you coming on. It's been awesome. And get out there to Brothers Keepers Veteran Foundation. Check them out. Support all events, the ruck, the shooting, the golf, and what's coming. And we will have Chris's femur on necklaces in 1 month. So check it out.
Let's fucking go.
Dude, anything else? It's been awesome. I mean, I feel like I know you because we talked a few times on the phone. But
probably just had I'm going to get a bunch of freaking weird DMs. So what else you giving away? No, I'm good, bro.
Ladies, don't get your hopes up.
Hey, to be clear, I'm trying to be here as long as humanly possible. So I don't need anybody murdering me for my awesome wall art. But no, man, I super appreciate you.
The art community, our social media just went up with the art community. But shit, man, come back anytime.
We should have opened with the femur. These guys went from serious to weird really fast.
Well, it's all right. Everybody's weird. Everybody's crazy. It's just what extent. And Chris and I might be on a 12 on a 10 scale, so we're gonna be perfect for each other. But man, I'm so happy for you, and I'm just we want to be part of it. We want to help you. So I really appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. You guys have got a great crew, man, and wish you guys the best. And do some business.
Let's fucking do it. Chris Cathers, boys and girls, Salty Nation, let's go.